Firstly, the ODI. So we're the Open Data Institute, also known as the ODI. We're a not-for-profit founded 7 years ago by Tim Berners-Lee, who founded the web. Thank you, Tim. Michael Shadbolt, and Jamie Tennyson, our CEO, who's also here. She's giving a talk later on about data good. We're based in London, but we work globally. Lots of our work is out in the UK, we work globally around the world. Sorry, I'll just put this slide in. Despite the name Open Data Institute, we do not only do open data. Naming things is very hard sometimes. So we say we work across the data access spectrum, data, closed data to shared data to open data. Most of our work the last few years is actually in shared space. A very hard grey area where people make decisions about how accessible data should be, who should have access to that data, what can they use. That's where most of our work has been for the last couple of years. Our mission is we work with companies and governments building open and trustworthy data ecosystem. We see ourselves actually for this mission. There are other organisations who have a very similar mission, but they focus on different parts of the problem. So open knowledge, for example, open knowledge, they focus on working with governments and civil society to build an open, trustworthy data ecosystem. We focus on companies and governments with different organisations for different roles. And our vision is people, organisations and communities to use data to make better decisions while being protected from harm. So again, very prevalent nowadays that some of the naive techno-optimism around data has gone away. So it's good that there's a lot more focus on protecting against harm initiatives. One of the projects, so we have a big research and development program. And in this year, one of the projects that I'm leading on is called How to Increase Access to Data while Retaining Trust. We deliberately say retaining trust rather than increasing trust, because some distrust is useful. It keeps consumers and businesses and governments and regulators engaged to say, actually, is this working right? I should blindly trust the bottom. I shouldn't just blindly trust the terms and conditions. I should check to see if somebody's doing what they say they're doing. In that project, I'm not going to cover all that, it's supporting funds, pictures, in that project, we've been doing user research. So we've been talking with data holders to say, how do you make a decision about how to increase access to data when you decide to give individuals more control over data, when you decide to give other businesses control over data from their companies, and how do you make those decisions to understand their problems and their processes. We've been looking at the concept of trust. We found a very nice mathematical equation of how trust is defined by an academic called Kieran O'Hara at Southampton University, who's done a lot of research into context. Trust is context-based. The organisation I trust is based on their context and their context, their behaviour, their respective behaviour. And we've been looking at that to help us understand why it is that organisations or people sometimes do things that make us lose trust in them, and what is driving that kind of behaviour. But we're not going to do that today, we've shown that from the text to cover today. Some of the other work we've been doing has been around data access models. So we all talk about, we might simplify things into my data or open data or these different things, but actually when you dive into it, there's a lot of different models, a lot of different patterns which people are building on. But I tend to think of it as like a map where we're still discovering parts of the ways to make data more accessible. We're still discovering ways to do it. One of the ways, just like all the explorers were discovering paths in this case the Arctic. They were discovering, actually is that the Arctic? Yeah, the Arctic. But they were discovering how to do these things well. Where were the safe passages? Where were the seas with rocks in that were going to hold their boats? And none of them's quite sure of their way around this map yet. And often this map is from 1772, and some parts of this map were made up by the map maker because they wanted to sell maps. So they filled in some bits to say, I discovered some new stuff. Because again, lots of people who are doing this, that's what happens. People fill it in because of their vision, that type of vision, their values, or they fill it in just to sell stuff. So So we always have to be careful of what we've been told when we've heard it from. Just like the people who put this map, should be a little bit more careful maybe. In our work, we've been looking a lot at some of the prevalent schemes that we see out there. So one-to-one contracts, multi-party contracts, static reports, platforms and portals, very common patterns that people use. Open data, obviously, yay. The scrapers, very common, we see them everywhere. Increasingly, in the middle there, personal data rights ecosystems. That's what we're going to talk about today, with things like data portability. We see more of that emerging, a more prevalent model. For example, with maybe through GDPR, whether through the open banking initiatives happening around the world at the moment, giving people more control over data about them that's held by banks, so that new things can be done. So we see those personal data rights driven ecosystems more. We're also seeing some of the newer models, or newer or less common models, often they're not newer. So like data trusts, which Lynette mentioned from stage, which Sean McDonald that we've been working with as well, which are exploring, or data marketplaces and personal data marketplaces. Lots of things actually I'm sure I'll see here when I go out and have a chance to look on the stores outside. Lots of those new models we're exploring. The blockchain, obviously, because they're all data shipped on the blockchain. Last year, I'm not sure if this year we're putting all data on the blockchain, but this year all data is going on a quantum computer. Is that right as well? We always have those new things in the newer models which we're exploring. And what we're trying to do is help people learn how to navigate these things. That's one of the things we've been doing, helping people and organisations understand how to choose what's right for them. So data trust, I just threw the slide in, as was mentioned. It's actually very popular. Data trusts are very popular in the UK at the moment. Somebody wrote the word data trust in the report, somebody important. So everyone said, cool, I'm building a data trust now. We did some research, we actually found 5 different definitions of data trust at least. We found about 20, we've synthesized, Jack synthesized it down to about 5. We think most of them are things that already existed, just like the legal structure is the new bit. This is what Sean's working on as well. And we're doing some work actually in the UK on this, that and that. In the UK we're doing some work to try and actually define what a data trust might be, and then sort of pilot it to test it. Lots of these new ideas, it's great to write them down on paper, as this person did in this report in the UK, thank you very much. But until you test it and know if it's actually going to work in the real world with real humans, it can be a bit more, you don't know if it's actually a good idea or not until you actually test it. So we're just working through what is our definition at the moment. We're happy to talk through this for anybody who wants to talk data trusts and legal trust and looking at data. We're happy to talk about that as well. We're just working out how to test that at the moment. It starts to right now, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to kept to my 10 minutes. It's fine, so I'm going to go too long. And that's going to go through ecosystem mapping and data portability. And we see data portability as part of the personal data rights ecosystem.
Yeah, so ecosystem mapping, I thought would be a good place to start from my bit. It's not this, unfortunately, so it's not natural ecosystems and plankton and bacteria and things like that. It's data ecosystem maps. And for us, data ecosystem maps include 3 sort of clusters of things, or 3 groups of things. So the data assets, the data sets, the databases, the APIs, and sorts of things that are being accessed, used and shared in a particular ecosystem. Perhaps most importantly, the people and organisations involved in using that data and sharing it, or publishing it openly in some cases. And then the relationship and roles. So importantly, the data ecosystem map surfaces the roles and relationships between different organisations in a particular ecosystem. This is why we think ecosystem maps are useful. I'll talk through the guides that are on the tables in a moment, but this is why we think it's useful to do this, and why we think it's useful to map data ecosystems in this way, and why we think of different types of organisations and relationships between them as ecosystems actually themselves. And this is what they look like to us. So I've taken this from some of the research that Peter mentioned, so as part of our R&D programme, and looking at the role of data in the delivery of public services and multiple projects. We found it useful actually in order to highlight how data is being used to deliver different public services in the UK. Mapping was a useful way of doing it, so communicating some of the complex relationships, interactions, and uses, and sharing of data in a particular ecosystem. So this is DWP, UK Department for Work and Pensions, and its use of a new system made from Churchill, and the way in which it ingests data from different sources, and the way in which it's used by different teams, statisticians, and sorts of things like that. So this is what a polished one looks like, but before we get to this, the process of doing it is perhaps the most valuable part. So the guys we've got on the desk are sort of our current understanding of data ecosystems and how to map them. So there's some guidance in there, quite practical, around how this can be done, whether it's you doing it alone and sort of conducting research in order to fill them in, or if we like to do it in groups and just combine the tools and multiple people. But feel free to take them away as openly licensed outputs as well on our website, so feel free to have a look if you want to go back and revisit the process after the session. So in doing it, this is a bit of a sneak peek as to what one might look like, or we might hope a few of them to look like at the end of the session. So this is one that the team, the ODI team internally did recently, looking at the flood mapping data ecosystem in the UK. So how does data about the risk of floods actually reach people, individuals at the bottom? Just working through sort of collection, in this case the UK Environment Agency is the sort of central hub of it, if you like, but then distributing it through all sorts of different methods based upon different needs. So reports and summaries through to different services they run, through to the UK's national data portal and things like that. So this is sort of example one, and this is what they tend to look like after half an hour or so, or what we hope them to look like after half an hour or so. This is one that we worked on as part of the same project, but we did it collaboratively with those involved in the ecosystem, so they can be done as sort of as an observer of a particular ecosystem, or play a particular role in it. This is one that we did with, just what's the slides? That was the last time it was. So this is one that we actually worked on with multiple parts of the ecosystem to put together. So again, this is one that describes the use of data in the delivery of a public service in the UK, in this case bin collection in Leeds. This is just to show that it can take a slightly different form. It's not just post-its and pens. This is one that we sort of worked through and used a particular piece of software to put together. Still quite messy and still probably incomplete as well. This is sort of where they end up and how we find them useful to communicate what different ecosystems look like and the different types of data and interactions that include within them. So this describes Transport for London's open data ecosystem. So on publishing open data, what then happens to it, how is it used, and it shows the different intermediaries involved, and then how that data actually finds its way back to people, to passengers and travellers within London in this case. And we've got a bit of an iconography or key to help highlight the different flows of data, so whether it's open data or shared, in this case it's open, and then also showing different types of inputs and relationships. So I think there's some colours there for funding and other types of support and use as well. So again, this is why we think this is useful. The process we think the process of mapping is probably as impactful and as useful as the outputs that are produced. So in putting them together, we think that it helps do these types of things, and most importantly, understanding complex systems. So often sort of documentation around different data ecosystems, around different interactions can be quite wordy if it exists at all. So we think this is a slightly different way and perhaps a more engaging way of describing data ecosystems and what they consist of, with the hope that it makes some of the successes from them more repeatable and more understandable to those that perhaps don't think about them every day. So we are in the data portability track. So we could point the ecosystem mapping at a few different types of ecosystems or different models for increasing access, as Peter introduced at the start. But for today, I think data portability initiatives was the types of ecosystems that we would like to map in the session. I can't remember whether I have another slide or not. I'll cover that in a second. So the way we wanted to do it was to hopefully everyone can make it to a table. If not, we can perhaps put some paper up for those of you at the back. So break into some groups, ideally with people that you don't know or not from your organisation. Choose a data portability ecosystem. So as Peter mentioned, a few of them, so it may be open banking or the open banking ecosystem. It could be things like the data transfer project. I know we've seen people in the room, so that might be a place to start this table. But then other things that perhaps may not be labelled as data portability initiatives or explicitly defined as such, but does involve the portability of data about users or user-initiated data sharing. So, open to learning new initiatives and ecosystems that we're aware of. So feel free to interpret data portability initiatives or ecosystems quite broadly, but the ones that we were thinking of were ones that we had in mind, and the ones that Peter mentioned we might just covered as well. So yeah, feel free to take that quite broadly. And the idea is to map how you want, so whether it's using post-its which you can then move around if needs change, or whether it's just using the pen to drawing straight onto paper, feel free to do that how you like. But the idea was to spend sort of 30 minutes doing so, and then to come back and share and then see how they differed and some of the similarities.